Get to your phone calls, settle on a poll question. In fact, Paulie has a possible hour one poll question.
Okay. If I caught Ohtani's 50th home run ball last night, I would, you have three options.
Okay.
Give it back to Ohtani and ask for a pitcher bat combination of some sort. But you give it back to Ohtani and you get Dodgers tickets, World Series tickets, some type of trade, but immediately. Your second option, you sell it this week for the best offer you can get.
Okay.
While it's hot.
Okay.
Third option, you hold it for a decade plus and see what the market is. Let's save it.
Save it. Okay. Can you reach out to Darren Ravel, Fritzy, because this is what he does for a living, and he'll nerd out on this. He'll give us what he would do with the home run ball.
Right up his alley.
Yes, it is. So see if we can get a hold of him. Booger McFarland, ESPN NFL college football analyst, college football studio analyst on ABC, analyst for NFL Primetime with Chris Berman on ESPN Plus. Booger, good to see you. Do you have an opinion on Shohei Ohtani? Everybody else seems to. So Patrick Mahomes had something to say. LeBron James, thoughts?
I'm just always in awe, DP, when athletes achieve certain heights and when things that are done that have never been done before. To what do you go 6 for 6, 10 RBI, 3 home runs, like that's unbelievable. And very rarely do we set expectations and the great ones achieve and go above those expectations. I can only think of a couple of guys like Tiger Woods when he says "Hello World," and everybody's saying he's going to revolutionize golf. Well, he did. LeBron James on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16, he's the next great thing, and he was. And for Shohei Ohtani to sign a deal for $70 million a year, and in his first year of that deal to exceed the expectations, I'm just in awe of that because rarely do we see that. Most of the times our athletes underachieve and they underwhelm us, and he definitely has not.
Well, I was wondering about this as well. You have Travis Hunter at Colorado. Do you think he looks, or maybe his representatives would look at what Ohtani is doing, pitching and hitting? Now, granted, he didn't pitch this year, but to make yourself a unicorn, Travis Hunter has the talent to be able to do that. I don't know, can he do it full time? And be that standout guy.
I don't think he's going to be able to do it full time. I came into this season thinking he was a better corner than a receiver, but I've changed my mind. Like his ball skills are unreal. I think he's a better receiver than corner. I think he has punt return skills. Can he do both? Sure, he could do both. But this league, to me, it would be disrespectful to the guys that show up every day and that have done it for years and do it at a high level on one side of the ball to say a guy can come in and do it at a high level on both sides. Think about some of the great athletes we've seen. Champ Bailey, okay? Champ Bailey was unreal. He's a Hall of Famer. And Champ Bailey was a better corner than receiver, so he played corner. Even Deion, as great as Deion was, his primary position was cornerback. He dibbled and dabbled at receiver a little bit, but his greatest position was cornerback. And so I just think it's disrespectful to the level of athlete and the level of professionalism that these guys show on the field to think that Travis could come in and major at receiver and major at corner. Can he minor in one of them? Sure, but I don't think he's going to be able to do both.
All right, the Jets last night, what questions did they answer?
Not really a lot of them. I mean, New England is not a good football team, DP. And this is probably not the take that everybody in New York wants to hear because all of a sudden now the Jets are a Super Bowl team. But let's be honest. Like, we don't think New England is going to be a good team this year. They'll probably end up with maybe 3 or 4 wins at the end of the season. So are we really going to crown the Jets because they beat a team that's going to wind up winning 4 games? Now, what I take from it is Aaron Rodgers looked healthy. Aaron Rodgers moved around. Aaron Rodgers distributed the football well. But for me to come out and say this team has arrived after beating a what we think is a 4-win team, I can't do that. Let's see where we are around Halloween. Kind of in baseball, and you know this better than I do. In baseball, we always say, hey, let's look at Memorial Day as kind of the landmark. You look at Memorial Day and see where everybody's at. In football, it's Halloween, DP. Let's get to Halloween. Let's put the mask on. Let's go trick-or-treating. And then let's wake up the next morning and see where the Jets are. And I think that will be a better depiction of who they're going to be than today after beating the Patriots and everybody's gung-ho in New York.
Booger, you're way too intelligent, way too measured here. You're not the guy that I want to talk to. I want somebody saying the Jets, They prove that they're an elite team. Come on, let's plan the parade here in New York.
Come on, man. You know we can't do that, DP. But guess what? It's Meat Friday, so it's cool. Let's get some brisket. Let's get some Texas sausage. Let's have fun, and let's crown the Jets today. And then we'll wake up Monday, and we'll get back to reality.
When are you joining us for a Meat Friday?
You know what? Let's plan. I'm coming up on a Friday. I can plan to get where you are before noon, and I think that'll be good enough. So if I can get there before noon, we just got to plan a day. I will schedule a Friday this fall to get to you before noon.
Okay, because I'm going to plan the menu around you.
Okay, no question.
Okay,
I want sausage.
Okay,
I want ribs, and I want some brisket. I don't need any sides. I'm a meat guy. That's all I need. I don't need anything else.
You're like Al Michaels. Al Michaels can't have anything green. He can't have parsley on his plate. He'd never had a vegetable.
You know what? There are some crazy stories about our play-by-play guys. Al with the vegetables, Jim Nantz with the burnt toast. I'm really not sure which one I believe, but I'm going to just go with them as folklore right now.
All right, let's look at the big games this weekend in the NFL. Who has a must-win situation?
Baltimore. Baltimore's 0-2, and if you look at their next 3 games, there's a realistic chance they could be 1-4, 0-5 if they don't play their best football. And it's asking a lot to go into Dallas, who's coming off a disappointing loss to the New Orleans Saints. That to me is going to be, rarely do you get the early season games that we say, man, that felt like a playoff game because it's just too early in the season. But when you have 1-1 Cowboys, 0-2 Ravens, coming off the losses that they had, we're going to get, I think, both teams' best shot. And it's going to be the rare occasion where in September, it's going to feel like December. And to me, that's must watch.
The Eagles against the Saints got a little spicier here. Are you all in on the Saints?
I'm in on the Saints for 2 reasons. They are playing the right way. The offensive line is coming off the ball and they're knocking people back. Alvin Kamara looks like he's 5 years younger. Their defense, led by Dennis Allen, who's the head coach and a defensive wizard, their defense is playing well. And so they're built the right way, up front on both sides of the football. And all of a sudden, DP, it's kind of like Derek Carr went to Vegas and said, "To hell with it." All right, I'm hitting 17. All right, to hell with it. I'm rolling 7-11 all the time because the knock on him has been he's not a risk taker. Like he's checked down Charlie. And all of a sudden, he's throwing the football down the field to Rashid Shaheed, and they're hitting 50-plus yard balls every game. So, yeah, I'm in on the Saints because of those reasons.
Where do you stand with Carolina with the Bryce Young situation?
I've listened to all the pundits all week, and all they've done is blame Carolina and blame the organization. And I will admit on your show, I sat on the NFL at the NFL draft for ESPN, and I put all my chips on Bryce Young because of what I saw at Alabama. His ability to process, his ability to be accurate, his ability to play at his size because he's been small all his life. I think I could have been wrong, DP. All right, and I know people don't like to admit it, but I think I could have been wrong. And maybe, just maybe, the kid, because everything that I saw at Alabama, I haven't seen in the National Football League. I haven't seen him be accurate. I haven't seen him be poised. I haven't seen him look like a guy that was playing bigger than his stature. DP, he looks small, man. Like he looks tiny. And not only does he look tiny, sometimes he looks afraid. And that's one thing you can't be in the National Football League. So I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm afraid I may be wrong because I thought his superpower would overcome his size, and his superpower being his accuracy, his poise, his decision-making. But all those things have gone away 18 games into his career. And I just don't know if he can find them in Carolina. And if he doesn't find them in Carolina, then you go down the rabbit hole of now are you competing to be a backup, or is somebody going to give you an opportunity to be a starter, or do you have to go like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, go team to team to team, where somebody will give you a chance on a whim to be a starting quarterback? That's a difficult path. But I truly hope I'm wrong because the kid's got a great family. I met his mom and dad in Los Angeles at the Super Bowl, salt of the earth people, and I truly wish the best for the kid, but I'm starting to think I may have been wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was an easy, low-hanging fruit that everybody blamed the organization, blamed the owner, blamed the coach, all of this. And I said, no, let me start with the player.
Yes.
He's on the field. Maybe they didn't give him weapons. It's still, he's not the first quarterback who's a first-round pick who's gone out there and maybe didn't have the personnel around him to succeed. There's a reason why you had the number 1 draft pick. But I do think this has to be on him, and he might have to go someplace else to get another chance. It feels like that. And maybe it would be best for him to get out of there. Now, this is the follow-up question, Booger. If you're Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders, throw out another quarterback who might go number 1 overall, and Carolina is on the clock with the number 1 overall pick, could you see somebody pulling an Eli Manning?
No. I think we would talk about it, and everybody would have a bunch of, radio shows and TV shows leading up to the draft about it. But there's only 32 of these jobs in the National Football League, and probably half of them already filled for the next decade. And so to say you're going to turn it down and go somewhere else, I think that would be fool's gold. That's number 1. Number 2, Dave Canales, who's the head coach, it would be the guy choosing the quarterback. He and the GM, Dan Morgan. And if you look at Dave Canales' track record, he helped tutor Geno. He helped tutor Baker Mayfield. So he's worked with some quarterbacks, and you've seen some of those guys that have put the work in come out on the other end, and they're playing well. Now, maybe Bryce Young, maybe he doesn't want to work with Bryce Young because he didn't choose him.
Yeah.
Maybe Bryce Young just doesn't have it. And so I will give Dave Canales the benefit of the doubt because of what I've seen with Geno and what I've seen with Baker Mayfield. But when somebody's going to say, hey, DP, we're going to give you $35 million guaranteed to be number 1 overall, are you going to turn it down? I know you're rich, buddy, but that's something you just it's really hard to turn down when somebody's going to guarantee you $35 million over 4 years.
I don't know if it's an aberration, but the running stats are pretty impressive so far, and the passing touchdowns are down considerably. Is it a large enough sample size for you to make a declaration here?
Yeah. And I think it's a trend that's been happening over the last couple of years. If you go back toward the end of last season and now into this season, defensive coordinators are scary. And here's what I mean by that. Like, they don't want to give up the big play. And they finally realized that if we make this offense dance in unison, 11 guys in unison for 12 or 15 plays, it's hard for them to do. Now, if you give up an 80-yard touchdown, it's easy. But if I'll just keep my 2 safeties back, and I know Mel Kiper hates the 2 high safety defense. He wants to outlaw it. That's an entirely different conversation.
It's not a conversation. We don't even start with that silliness.
Maybe the worst statement I've ever had, and I love Mel to death. But defensive coordinators are keeping the safeties back, and they're inviting you to run the football. And offensive coordinators are finally saying, wait a minute, so you're going to give me an advantageous situation to run? Maybe I'll run the football. And that's what's happening, DP. Now, it goes in cycles, and sometime during the course of this season, what you're going to get is you're going to get a defensive coordinator that says, you know what, I'm going to knock the run out this week. And he's going to drop that safety down, and you're going to get one-on-one coverage, and you'll start to get some deeper passes down the field. But for right now, all the coordinators are kind of sitting back saying, okay, I'm going to make you drive the football down the field. We're going to play a little scared. And I think that's why the numbers, or at least that's the trend between the end of last season and right now.
Before I let you go, you put your left hand up there. That finger is like got its turn signal on.
Well, DP, here's what happens when you play in the trenches. This is what I did for a living. I don't sit behind the mic with headphones on and eat barbecue on Fridays. You know what I do? I get out there, I put my hand in the dirt, and I go to work. And this is a small byproduct of I played in the NFL 9 years, college football for 4. So 13 years of football led to this. And this is probably the worst I got. So I made it out with the knees and shoulders and everything okay. But my fingers are a little crooked. But I can hold a golf club as long as the grip is a jumbo club. And so I'll leave them be.
But you didn't think about fixing them?
Yeah, I thought about it, DP, but I've had 9 surgeries. Why would I want to volunteer for another one when I don't need it?
What, can you wear gloves?
Yeah. As far as like golf gloves, yeah, I can wear gloves. But I mean, other than that, I'm not going to be in any weather where I need like cold weather gloves. So I don't need any. No, Boog don't do cold weather. I've told you that.
Hey, I brought this up. Collinsworth and I were talking about this yesterday. How about we just say holding is legal in the NFL? Offensive linemen can hold. What do you think?
If we're gonna say if we're gonna outlaw the two safeties, you may as well give the offense another advantage and say offensive lineman can hold and say, guess what? The only defense that we can run is man to man. Let's just do it all for the fan, so we can have 70-point games every Sunday.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely. Great appearance, Booger. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, and I'm going to schedule that meet Friday too, buddy.
Yes, make sure. Booger McFarland, ESPN NFL college football analyst, college football studio analyst on ABC, and he works with Chris Berman on NFL Primetime on ESPN+. Great appearance.